Good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of Robert's philosophy, and we are discussing the second chapter from the Robert's philosophy, that is Introduction to the Study of Homoeopathy. In the last meeting, we have discussed certain aspects of it, and we have concluded the meeting with the one important topic, that is the logic. Homeopathy is completely based upon the logic. Logic is nothing but the scientific reasoning. It is the science of reasoning. So, whenever we used to think about logic, we are using the logic day and night, but we don't know we are using the logic. And whole homeopathy revolves around this logic. And this is what one has to understand clearly. Here, Robert tries to explain the inductive method of reasoning, which is followed by Hahnemann throughout his life. He has followed it right from the start. In fact, the birth of homeopathy or discovery of homeopathy is totally based upon the inductive reasoning method. And Hahnemann was specially trained with this method by his father, and because of which he was way ahead than his colleagues. In fact, 50 to 60 years, sometimes even 80 years, he was way ahead than the present the colleagues at that time. And because of which he was coming to the very certain conclusions. He used to use this inductive and deductive method of reasoning. So inductive logic is nothing but thinking of a big thing on the basis of very small thing, particular thing. It never always becomes a truth unless it follows the four criteria, that is exact observation, correct interpretation, scientific construction, and rational explanation. And this Robert here tries to explain exactly what it means. What do you mean by the exact observation? What do you mean by correct interpretation? What do you mean by scientific construction? All those points he wants to elaborate. This paragraph, right from homeopathy, has been developed through when here it starts, and it is the answer of this specific question. We were there on page number 27. We have finished first three paragraphs, four paragraphs. And here he starts explaining about the explanation of all those 4 points. So he starts with exact observation. Hahnemann's honest disappointment with the practice of medicine as manifested in the 18th century was the direct result of his faculties of observation and reasoning. His early training demanded of him that he find logical reasons for administration of medical substances, and that once given, favorable results were to be expected. The chaotic prescriptions of that day left little reasonable grounds for clear-cut results, and his observations of frequent failure of the physician to help the sick patients towards the cure, and worse still, the rapid decline of the patient is seemingly simple and uncomplicated cases under the best medical care procurable, led Hahnemann to renounce the practice of medicine. So, Hahnemann was the clear observer. He was scientist. He was looking towards the medical practice with his open eyes. He was observing that people were not getting cured from their sickness with those methods which were followed at that time. In fact, instead of getting cure, they were becoming more and more declined. In fact, decline in their health, state of health. And he was not satisfied with that. He says that if you are treating the patient, your patient should get cured. But if this is not happening, and there are no logical reasons which were used in order to treat the patient, he left the practice. He was not satisfied and he stopped doing the practice. He turned to the chemistry and the translation of medical literature as a means of livelihood. In one of these translations, an atom on the use of cinchona bark for intermittent fever arrested his attention, since he himself had recently suffered from such a malady. His interest was aroused, and his experiments were experiments with medical substances, which he later called provings, were begun. He first caught the gleam of light that led him to an understanding of reasonable application of the remedies based upon exact observation of the ability of the drug to produce symptoms on one hand and of the symptoms of the patient on the other. This problem he simplified to a logical basis. So, Hahnemann was a clear-cut observer. When he started procuring his day-to-day money with the help of translations, translating the books from the different languages into German. In one of the Materia Medica, labeled by the name of Cullen's Materia Medica, he came across one sentence, that is, cinchona bark has capacity to produce malaria-like symptoms when given to the healthy human being. He was translating it, and on next page immediately it was written that cinchona bark cures the malaria. He could not understand how can it be. The logical mind of the Hahnemann, as he was not just a translator, he was a scientist, immediately it stuck to his mind. Either one of the sentence might be wrong. Either the first sentence might be wrong, the second sentence might be wrong. That was thought in his mind. He was a scientist. He said that first to experiment with them. Unless we experiment, we cannot deny. So what he has done? He has immediately taken a cinchona bark mother tincture. He prepared it by his own hands and taken the 4 ounces of tincture which is prepared from cinchona bark. And to his surprise, within span of few hours, he started getting the typical chill followed by the fever. So he was surprised, and he said, he was confirmed that first sentence which was written over there is very correct. That cinchona bark has a capacity to produce malaria-like symptoms in the healthy person. He was damn sure about it. He was not like us. If we would be in his place, what would have done? We would have said that it means that second sentence might be wrong. But he was a Hahnemann. So what he says, he never denied the second sentence. He waited for the patient suffering from malaria, and he got one patient who was suffered from similar types of symptoms, malaria-like symptoms, and to him, he has given again the cinchona bark. And again, he was astonished because the second sentence found to be truth because it cured that patient. So this is what is Hahnemann was there. Immediately stuck to his mind that if both the sentences are truth, there must be some relation. It is not just a magic. So what he has done? He said that there must be some law behind that which is working. That was his thought, that was the induction, or that was the inductive reasoning which developed in his mind at that moment. So that was exact observation. He was not just a translator, he was the observer, because of which he observed those both sentences. The Newton was the observer, because of which the falling apple developed some thought in his mind, and that is called as a real observation or true observation. So first important parameter in the logical process is exact observation. Only exact observation never gives you anything unless you interpret it properly. If your interpretation is wrong, everything becomes wrong. He was Newton. He observed that there are falling apples. Every apple was falling down. Everyone was saying, had seen that panorama, but no one have thought why it is falling down. He was Newton, that's why he considered that it is falling down, so there must be something. He interpreted, If it is falling down, not going up, it means that there must be some attractive energy should be there, because of which it is taken to the ground. It never goes up. He experimented with it. He has thrown n number of atoms to the sky and everything is falling down. So when everything is falling down, their thought was developed. The interpretation was that there must be something which attracts towards the earth, and on the basis of which when he made a proper interpretation, he has done many experiments and found the truth and explained to the world rationally there is a law of gravitation. So see, this is how science develops. This is how one goes. So he explained over there, the first important thing, one must be a correct observer, exact observer. Second point, he highlights over there, correct interpretation of the phenomena produced by the experiments or provings was provided by close study of series of these experiments on the group of people. Thus, the probability of error was reduced through the accumulation of more data with increasingly exact observation, not only of the results produced, but also possible interposing conditions which varied the results. Hahnemann was soon convinced that the rational explanation of the phenomena was thought hinted at the time of the ancient Hindu sages by Hippocrates, Paracelsus, Stahl, and others throughout the course of medical history, that diseases are cured by medicines that have power to excite the similar affection. So most important thing which he is explaining, that unless and until we interpret it properly, it is not possible to go ahead. Hahnemann interpreted it properly, that there must be some similar law. But unless and until he experiments, he cannot show it to the world. Unless and until he gives the proof, it is not possible to show it to the world. So what he has done, he has made a search where whether such a thing is there. Then he found it in the Hindu sages that such type of law is there. Yes, it was known to the Hippocrate, it was known to the Paracelsus, it was known to the Stahl, but no one have experimented. Hahnemann was the first to experiment. What was the thought? What was the written over there? Diseases are cured by medicines that have power to excite the similar affection. That was written already over there. And then, with the help of this rational explanation written in other books and have a proof, he experimented with them. He experimented, he proved many remedies. He has written down what symptoms that medicinal plant produces. Then he has given it to the similar types of patients. It took Hahnemann 6 years to experiment. He was experimenting not with one entity, he was experimenting with many. He has proved 99 remedies. A single man who has proved 99 remedies is a big example in the field of homeopathy. So, lastly, he came to the same point. While this thought had been applied occasionally, Hahnemann was the first to insist on the importance of this premise in every case where a true cure was achieved, and he was the first to test remedial substances and classify the results with this purpose in mind. So he was the first one who experimented with that thought. He started experimenting. It was there, written over there in Hindu sages. It was known to the Hippocrates. It was known to the Paracelsus. It was known to Stahl. But no one have experimented. Hahnemann was the first to experiment. And then, with true scientific construction, he applied the principles evolved from his inductive reasoning and the correlating experiments he had conducted. Briefly then, we find that these experiments had led Hahnemann to give a medicinal substance to the healthy person to carefully record the effect, which were the production of symptoms, artificial disease, for the purpose of making these substances available for people suffering from like symptoms in natural disease syndrome. Thus developed his thorough work in proving as we know it. This hypothesis, a process of inductive reasoning, proved to be triumph through the discovery of scientific principles based upon natural laws. So here completes the answer of that question. What is inductive reasoning? What is logic? What is inductive reasoning? Explain in detail the role of inductive reasoning in the discovery of homeopathy. And this is the answer of this 20 marks question for the student. So here he has made a scientific construction of the experimenting it with many medicinal substances, and he was damn sure when he has made the scientific construction, and then he was able to rationally explain to the world in 1796 there is a law of similars, and he has stated that law. So see, this is the development which has developed from the inductive reasoning, and all four criteria of inductive reasoning followed by him coming to the deduction, there is a law of similars. So it was based upon exact observation, the correct interpretation, scientific construction, and lastly, rational explanation. So, two, the principles of inductive reasoning led Hahnemann through his observation of the effects of remedies administered on the basis of symptom similarity to the gradual decrease of the dose because of the consequent drug effects is as differentiated from the remedial effects of the substances administered. This decrease of the dose was developed according to the definitely scaled formula, and this in turn led to the discovery of principle of potentiation and release of energy. Again, there was a discovery of law of simplex, law of minimum dose. It was not a one-day program. He never got a dream and then he started doing it. It was a long, tedious process. He started reducing the doses and he was observing what effects happens once we reduce the dose of the medicine. Then he started, instead of giving 4 ounce, he has given 2 ounce. Even the effect was same. Then he has reduced to 1 ounce, then half ounce. Gradually, he reached to such a level, even it was working. That was thought in his mind. He was the physicist, he was the chemist, he was the botanist. Everything led him to think logically. He said that if we reduce further and try to make it fine, what will happen? It will definitely release some energy. And let us see whether it releases or not, whether it produces symptoms or not. So he started, he has utilized not only the botany, physics, chemistry, but he has utilized mathematics over there. He has developed a scale over there, and he has prepared the medicine with the help of that scale, and he developed a typical medicine with scientific approach, because of which it was possible for him to reach to the right place, to reach to the very perfect scales, different scales, and because of which it was the system which has developed as a scientific system of medicine, because which is based upon physics, which is based upon chemistry, which is based upon the botany, zoology, as well as the mathematics. The laws of all basic sciences are applicable to the homeopathy, and because of which this discovery was very clear. So you can understand that this is the scientific method. There is nothing like a conjecture or speculation. It was not a dream. It was not a thought. It was not what Hahnemann felt. It was whole story was related with the continuous working on the field. And because of which homeopathic medical science is the only science which is completely proved science. It is most scientific science. What we lack is only one thing, that we never work hard like Hahnemann. That is the only thing where we are missing. Otherwise, we would top in the world in the medical system. So this is the big question which was answered by him related with logic. Some points of logic are also given in further part that will finish on Monday. So Monday, most probably we are able to conclude the chapter. And few points related with logic are again explained by the Robert over there. So that's all for today. Today more evening, If there will be no rain, definitely there will be a lecture. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.